If the cigar is the symbolic heart of Ybor City, a singular commodity that thrust a once little-known southern neighborhood into the global spotlight, then baseball surely speaks to its soul. The game's roots run so deep in this corner of Tampa, its influence could be traced back to the community's earliest days. And like the cigar industry at its zenith, the area has become known around the world for producing grade A big league talent. As Ybor City continues to grow into the 21st century, a reimagined next-generation baseball experience complementing the richly diverse history of the community is about to unfold.
When the cigar industry came to the Tampa area and to Ybor in specific in 1885, 1886, there were about 700 to 1,000 people living in Tampa. So it was really, really small. It didn't have much for industry. It was mostly just a port fishing type village. So when the cigars came and brought with them an influx of immigrants, that's really when the population of Tampa exploded, and again, cigars were really the driving force behind that. Within the first decade, there's about 10 to 13,000 people had already moved here.
Many accounts suggest that returning prisoners of war brought it from the north. Regardless, you have organized baseball being played by the 1870s and certainly by the 1880s. And clearly the formation of Ybor City provides a spark.
It started with the people that moved here. They came from Cuba, where baseball is, of course, it's like the sport. And then these people played through the various clubs, the Cuban club, the Italian club, different organizations, and they formed a league, and that became very popular.
I've never heard people say specifically that baseball was the uniting force in Ybor City, but it had to be a uniting force. You have people coming from areas where they don't speak the same language. They're getting thrown together speaking Italian or Spanish. It was hard for them to learn the languages back and forth. Baseball was something that was a universal language, if you will. So it was a way for people to come together.
Baseball transcends, it reinforces, it grounds issues of race, ethnicity, and region. Baseball is the one uniter in the area. Everyone is playing baseball. Church leagues are playing, Latin immigrants are playing, poor whites, poor blacks, turpentine leagues. Baseball is the game. There's nothing else even close.
This modest Ybor City bungalow and the man who was raised in it are very much alike. They are both symbolic of a proud community built on hard work, family, and dedication. And after more than 100 years, each is still looked upon with great fondness and admiration for what they represent and the place they will forever hold in Tampa Bay history.
Al Lopez, the pioneer, got it all started in my eyes.
Tom McEwen, the old sports editor for Tampa Tribune, I read one time that he mentioned wherever he went in this country, when he would tell people he was from Tampa, the first thing he'd ask is, how's Al doing? Al Lopez was Tampa to a lot of people across the United States.
In 1885, Vicente Martinez Ybor came to Tampa to establish the cigar industry. And in doing so, he obviously brought the Cuban cigar makers there. Eventually, he brought Italians and Spaniards who also came to work either in the cigar industry or in support of the community.
Baseball became a way that everybody could sort of communicate without language, in an essence. Baseball wasn't something that was terribly popular anywhere but in the United States and really in Cuba at the time that the cigar industry was founded. So the Cuban immigrants were really responsible for making baseball super popular in Tampa, and they sort of taught it to Spanish immigrants and to Italian immigrants who weren't at all familiar with the game, and I think really helped bolster its popularity in this area.
Almost 100 years after Ybor City is founded, a group of like-minded residents decide it's time to officially preserve the history and cultural diversity of their neighborhood.
In 1980, a new museum opened called the Ybor City Museum State Park. Some of our citizens had gone to Tallahassee to ask the state park system to preserve what was an Italian bakery, which they did, and they made it into a history museum about the cigar industry and the immigrant groups who came to Ybor City.
we're always interested in telling the stories of the immigrants that came to Ybor City and helped it flourish. And you really can't tell the immigrant story of Ybor City without talking about baseball.
It is in our DNA here in Tampa and in Ybor City. It's just a sport that just about everyone who was born here at some point played in a little league organization, went to a spring training game. It's something that flows along with the history of the city.